You're listening to BioTalk with Rich Bendis, the only podcast focused on the BioHealth Capital Region. Each episode, we'll talk to leaders in the industry to break down the biggest topics happening today in biohealth.
Hi, this is Rich Bendis, host of BioTalk. We're at the second annual BioHealth Capital Region Investment Conference and talking to various participants here, some from afar and some close by. And right now we have somebody from Sunnyvale who is on the left coast who has come to the right coast, and his name is Faz Bashi, and he is a super angel.
Okay.
And he came to us, and we'll talk about how you came to us through some of the common people that we know within this world. But Faz, welcome to BioTalk.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Have you been in the BioHealth Capital Region before?
I have been in the region before, but not to the BioHealth Capital Region Conference.
Oh, you
It's
haven't?
my first time, yes.
So what brought you to the region before?
You did. No. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No, I have friends on both coasts. So
Okay.
I come out periodically. Obviously, the FDA is out here as well. And so lots of mutual friends.
Great. So I think the listeners want to know about you because you're a super angel. Number one, what's a super angel?
I don't know. You just called me
I know
that.
that. And number two is how did you progress in your career to get to the point where you're doing what you do today?
Serendipity and fortuitousness. So my background's in healthcare. I'm a physician by training. I am also a scientist. So microbiology, immunology, virology. But I spent most of my time at the bench chasing after molecules and viruses and antibodies and things that really intrigued me. So the scientific method has always been in my blood. And I think actually anyone who understands the scientific method could become a very good angel investor because the whole process of testing, having a hypothesis about what a deal is, testing it, finding out whether there's reality there, finding the result, and then saying, yes, I want to invest or not. But there has to be a method. And so my approach has always been not just to write checks. So I am a super angel in that I'm kind, I'm thoughtful, I'm meticulous, and I provide feedback to folks. I don't write the biggest checks. I don't. I write bigger checks for things that I truly believe in, but I start off with, again, all the things I just described.
So you did a shortcut through your career there.
Yeah.
I mean, you went from being on the bench to getting to be a super angel, but there's something that happened in between there. What was it?
And it was fortuitous. So I was working in a health system. So my passion is underserved communities. Right. So I was working in a county-based healthcare system. And it just turned out that one of my friends who approached me happened to be a member of an angel group. And they said, hey, Faz, would you like to join an angel group? And I go, what the hell is that? Oh, we're like venture capital. I said, I don't understand venture capital. And besides, I don't believe in risk. I said, don't worry about it. We'll teach you.
How long ago was that?
That was 10 years ago.
Okay.
But it took me about 5 years to really kind of get my bearings to figure out, is there something here that I can replicate beyond just writing a check? I don't want to just write a check. I like to be involved with the companies. And that's why I enjoyed this conference so much, Rich. This was terrific. It was very intimate. I enjoyed getting to know people one-to-one. And I like giving feedback. So I like being a coach. I like that whole one-on-one process.
Companies need the feedback, and they need it honest. And the older I get, the more direct I am because I figure I'm only going to run into these people one time in my life. And if I'm not honest with them and I BS them, then that doesn't benefit them.
I agree. And you millennials, you're a millennial, right, Rich?
You know what? You know why I'm a millennial? People won't understand this, but I've been in Maryland for over 8 years now. I have never driven a car here.
Get out.
I've only been on Amtrak, the Red Line, Metro, and Uber.
You're so West Coast, you don't even know it.
Come on now. Everybody drives out there. No.
Public transportation. You believe in the climate.
I believe in it.
You want to preserve our environment.
Definitely.
Good for you.
So
Awesome.
I'm a super millennial.
You okay?
Okay.
I love it. Good.
So anyway, when did you stop getting out of practice or in the health system? Are you doing what you do now full time?
I am.
Okay, so when did you actually stop?
About 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years ago, I realized that I think I understand the methodology here. I got involved more on the national scene. So I'm a emeritus board member of the Angel Capital Association.
And Marianne Hudson and I know each other.
Wonderful. I love Marianne. Yeah. And for 5 years, I've been running the monthly call, 1 hour call with all angel investors across the country who want to do life science syndication. Really? So I have a lot of really wonderful friends across the country. So I have a feel for West Coast, East Coast, Middle Coast. It doesn't matter. And I try to get out of my bubble because I live in a bubble.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I'm an angel as well. And I've helped create angel funds. More than angel networks or angel groups. My philosophy is if you have dedicated capital and it's already committed, it's better than going around the table and I'm in for 20 and I'm not in it. But anyway, I want to get your philosophy on that. Are you a member of a group or a fund today?
I'm a member of both. So I'm a lead venture investor of a women's health fund called Portfolio's Femtech Fund.
Oh, really? Portfolios.
I'm an affiliate partner with Boston Millennia Partners.
Is that Trish Costello?
Yeah, Trish. You know Trish too.
Well,
Okay,
Trish,
right.
because I have a home in Kansas City.
No!
I work for Mr. Kaufman at Marion Laboratories.
Get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
How could you be a millennial then?
Yeah, I know that. But more importantly, the foundation I knew very well. All of the original people in the foundation, and Trish created the venture program and then spun out, and she's super doing what she's doing right now.
She asked me to join the Femtech Fund, and I was honored for her to ask me that. I'm the only male lead investor in the fund. And I'm very, honestly, that's a real great honor. Yeah. And I get the opportunity to look at women's health deals, not from a women's health perspective, but I look at it really as an economic opportunity. 50% of the market are women, and there are lots of products that should be out there in the marketplace and aren't, and we're doing it. So,
and they're underrepresented in the investment community.
That's right.
For sure.
So I'm a member of both. I'm both a member of a fund where we control capital and we deploy it. And I'm also a member of a group. So now I'm going to say something about what I know of this region. So I'm also external advisory board member to Hopkins, to their CBID program. So what is missing, though, and what I like about groups is this push and pull, this tension that happens between individual members of a group versus directors of a fund. Because when we have 180 members at Life Science Angels, 180 people can touch so many different companies. And so we get to give feedback. We get to really tell them, don't do that, or do this, or come back to us when you have this. And I think that's really helpful, and it's missing. It's missing around Hopkins. I think it's missing around a lot of
Well, there used to be more angel groups and funds. The dinner club that John May used to have down in D.C.
You know John May
I go back a long way. Right. And, and you had the Baltimore Angels and the whole everybody. But at the end of the day, they're not in existence anymore, and it's more of an informal network. And what I like about a fund is a member-managed fund.
There you go.
Okay, which also does not have just a managing partner of a fund, but the investors make the investment decisions. The investors serve on the boards. There has to be a champion investor who is in charge of bringing that deal to the table. So the funds I've been associated with, the Mid-Atlantic Angel Group Fund, MAG 1 and 2, which we created in Philly.
Really?
Yeah, and I was part of the...
How come we haven't met before?
I have no idea. No, I mean, it's the coast thing. It's the right coast versus the left coast.
But Andrea brought us together.
Yeah, so you can explain that. So the reason we're talking today is BioHealth Innovation, recognizing the tremendous deal potential that we have here and the lack of capital, as I mentioned, between $500,000 to $5 million deals, getting them ready for Series A. We're going to form a fund. And it's going to be about a $50 million fund. Andrea is going to be one of the partners in the fund. And it's going to be the BioHealth Capital Region GAP Fund. Yeah. And we have the decks. We're getting our documents ready. We'd like to do a close first quarter of 2020. You know what it's like to raise money for funds.
I do, but you're rich.
Yeah.
No, I meant you're Rich Bendis. Yeah. I know you're rich also. But honestly, I'm happy to connect some dots.
I'd love your dots, because I think you probably have some very influential dots.
Absolutely.
We were just closing this meeting to say some closing remarks. You were doing something back here recording, and you missed the great remarks.
I'm so sorry.
But as I was getting ready to leave, I won't mention the name, but there's a family office gentleman who came just today, and he wasn't here yesterday. And they're deploying $5 and $10 million in each deal they do, but they have no life science experience.
Oh, what a tragedy.
It's a tragedy, but you know what? They need us. They need people like you and I.
That's exactly right.
So the key is that's one of the benefits of what we're doing. They came here not knowing about this thing for the first time. So they are a potential person you could partner with.
This is very true.
The money is there, but they don't have the knowledge, and they need experts who understand the technology, the science, and sort of the mechanism you go through to make a decision on a deal.
Rich, there's more of that going on with the family offices. I'm seeing more and more family offices wanting to step up to the table and associate with angel funds, mostly angel funds, some angel groups, but they want that validation to begin with, because internally they just don't have that expertise to look at, I'm just saying, life science and healthcare deals, which is a completely different animal. You cannot just drop into it and try to write checks and think you're going to pick winners. There's so much that goes into it.
And then when you mention you host, is it a weekly call or a monthly?
It's a weekly.
A weekly call for life science.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a monthly call for syndication.
For syndication. Yes. So the key is, if you take an estimate of the number of angels in America, what percentage of them do you think do life science deals.
I know the number. So the number of groups that do serious healthcare and life science deals is less than a dozen.
Really?
Less than a dozen.
And how many groups
That's a dozen groups.
Out of how many total groups?
Oh, out of a total
thousands.
of no, not thousands. There's about 300 structured angel groups that are members of Angel Capital Association.
Okay.
That's
So
the
that's
number
the
I
qualifier.
have. Right. That I remember that. The rest dabble. So they do deals here and there, and they might syndicate, so they have it on their portfolio, but they're not the ones that really. There's only about a dozen.
And that's 4%.
Yeah.
And
Wow,
so,
you could do the math.
Oh, no, but so
I can't do that.
Well, no. At the end of the day, though, if you look at some of the best returns in venture and that actually have occurred in those who know how to do angel investments, it's in our sector that we're talking about.
It is.
But why aren't they there? Because they don't have people like you to help advise.
I think that's one part of it. And I think people, they don't understand the asset class of angel investing and early stage investing. And by the way, there is a methodology to this. And that's why it's important to understand valuation, understand what percentage of the company you're starting off with, and to understand dilution downstream. If you don't prepare for those things, then you can get washed out. And then what happens when you get washed out, Rich? You don't come back to the table. Right. I'd rather have a win and come back and have capital to deploy again. And that's what we.
And the other words of advice we would have for those people who do individual angel investing is sometimes it's very lonely out there.
It is.
And if you're part of a group, who's going to come in with you to do some side-by-side or co-investing if you're out by yourself?
Rich, do you remember that nice steak dinner you bought us all last night?
Yes.
What a wonderful crowd of people. Wasn't that fun?
I know.
How could you not have a great time being around 100 people, friends who get up and talk about each other, right? Or talk about themselves. And then you gave them a chance to go out and network with one another. And that was phenomenal. That's the energy that people need. It's not a lonely sport.
No.
It's a relationship.
It's a team sport.
It's a team sport. And the more you get to understand that and the more you connect the dots, the quality dots always matter the most too, right?
So that was a fantastic night until they gave me the bill.
And then you tried to give it to me.
But anyway, it was well worth it.
It was totally, yeah.
So let's talk about, you talk about
Rich,
the
remember
climate.
you can't take it with you. Remember, you spend it on your friends, all right.
But let's talk a little bit about the left and the right here. You're involved in your group, which is out in Sunnyvale,
Palo Alto.
Palo Alto, Silicon Valley. And we're over here in the BioHealth Capital Region right now, which is Sands Venture Capital to a great extent, and Sands formal angel groups, which we used to have. So talk about the climate that you have over there versus what the climate is you're just observing here now.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm seeing it here at the conference, but again, I've had plenty of exposure to my East Coast friends.
And your Johns Hopkins relationship.
And my Hopkins role as well. So people-wise, there's zero difference between the coasts. Zero difference. Right. But in terms of how deals are structured, how people talk about opportunities, there is a big difference. And I think some of it comes from the fact that we have 8 million people in the Bay Area walking around with high appetites for risk. Right. So if you bump into somebody, you'll probably bump into an angel investor or a venture capitalist, and you'll get an opinion. You ask for an opinion, you'll get an opinion, right? So I tried being a pedestrian here today to walk from my hotel to the site that we're at right now. It was hard being a pedestrian. In fact, there was no other pedestrians out there.
Yeah, right.
Who do I bump into? Unless I go to the B word, the Boston word, right?
Yeah.
So if I go to Boston and there's
Cambridge,
a whole bunch,
sure.
Right, if I go there, then I bump into a bunch of people and maybe the same thing happens. And that's why I appreciate the fact that you invited me out here and I'm part of this conference. I try to give people the reality of the marketplace. I really try to give them candor. That's all I can provide. I can provide a check, but I'm not going to write a check right away. I'm going to listen and I'm going to try feedback. I wrote notes for myself of how I'm going to do that for folks. So one of the things that I did notice that's a big difference, perhaps culturally, is when you come to the wrong coast, a lot of people that you'll bump into will start with a question, and again, test my hypothesis, but how can I help you? And I ended up all my meetings with that question, how can I help you? I don't get that sense of how can I help you a lot of times with my friends or my colleagues out here. Right. Everyone's busy and there isn't this concentration of people chasing after high risk equity based type of investment. So there is a little bit of a cultural thing, but I think it's totally something that can actually be transformed with leadership, with role models, with people who do make a difference in the ecosystem. And by the way, here's the interesting thing. My friends at Hopkins, they send all their entrepreneurs to the West Coast to seek out one person. And it's usually me. All these Hopkins people come out to the West Coast and they find Faz Bashi. But why? Well, I'm receptive. I'm available. I will listen and I'll give feedback.
We're going to have you buy coastal. So
you go, right.
you have a desk or in my office.
Okay, all right.
In Rockville right now.
Are you getting this on tape?
Anytime
All right.
you want to come.
All right.
We'll give you a place.
There you go.
We'll have office hours for Fazs.
There you go.
No, seriously.
I'm happy to do that. Can we get it on the podcast too?
You can do podcasts with everybody we talk to.
Excellent. I
Which
like
we've
it.
done over 45 of them.
That's
right?
fantastic.
So, yeah.
No, I love your show.
Thank you. But let's talk about culture a little bit. I think one of the big differences, and I've had a chance to be exposed to all of these cultures, is it's a risk-adverse culture because you have government and academia, which has driven this region, okay? You look at what's driven Silicon Valley, and it didn't happen overnight. But yet, you've evolved to a place now where people are not risk-averse. And how many angels do we have now? If you're looking at risk adversity, doing life science deals, or they were doing maybe a cyber deal, an app deal, or something like that. We didn't need to bring that enthusiasm back the way it was.
I agree with you.
When AOL was emerging here.
Exactly. Right. And how many high net worth, SEC accredited surgeons, physicians, name it, anybody who's involved in
academics.
Academics, they're everywhere. All we have to do, Rich. And
defense contractors at Lockheed and Northrop Grumman.
Here's the diabolical plan. Yeah. It's just called education.
Yeah, I know it is.
Social hour, bring people together, show them how much fun it could actually be. But it's also a lot of fun to win. It's fun to make 1 + 1 = 6.
So we'll do the Bashi Bendis show.
Hey, Bashi Bendis show. I like it.
B&B.
Yeah, all right. No, but it should be Bendis Bashi. I bow to you, Rich.
No. So the key is, what are the words of wisdom that you have to share with the people in this region about how do we evolve to hit our goals that we want to bypass New York by 2023, which I think we can do. Definitely do it. But, I mean, what do you see as the critical elements in the ecosystem that we need to focus on?
I really do think it's around education and educating perhaps more of the high net worth folks. I think there's plenty of entrepreneurs. There's really, and again, I'm half joking but half serious. A lot of the Hopkins folks do come out and they find me. But I think it's education. I think it's an opportunity to teach about the asset class of investment, just like the Kauffman Fellows program teaches about venture capital and teaches about, and there's entrepreneurial programs, but there aren't enough programs that really tell investors what is it that they should be doing. And here's my 3 things. It's very simple. People ask me, what does it take to be a great investor? And I go, I'll tell you, it has nothing to do with anything you think it might be. It really has to do with a network. I'm blessed. I have over 8,000 people in my network. Probably nothing compared to some of the other folks. These are all life science, healthcare people that I value and I treasure. I can pick up the phone, ask them any question I want. So it's network.
How long did it take to develop that?
But it took me 5 years. And I had zero network. But I work hard at it.
0 to 8,000 in 5 years is amazing.
I work hard at it. I come to everywhere. I pay attention to the cards I get. I talk to people. It's relationship, friendship, and trust. I can have a relationship with everybody, but they're not going to be all my friends. Some of my friends are really great friends, but there's those that I actually really trust the most. And so it's the trusting relationships that end up becoming where I truly look at my deal flow that comes from those trusted relationships that makes a difference. I pay more attention. Those are the warm intros that I paid. The rest, I'm happy to give feedback on. I'm happy to track. I'm happy to even co-invest at some point. But I think that's really the bottom line, Rich. It's not that complex. The universities are here. The technology transfer is here. The intellectual property here. Everything you want is here.
The talent is here.
The talent is here.
In spades.
In spades. All we need to do is get people to rally around each other and work together. And the function you had last night was an example of it. Imagine if that was an angel group. What a rowdy bunch of people. But having fun, right?
A few bottles of wine and whatever you were drinking.
Whatever it takes.
It was the magic sauce, right?
Whatever it takes, yeah.
So how do we create greater connectivity between the left and the right here?
I think we have it, actually. I really do. Put aside the VC stuff that's going on, which is, again, that's private equity battling out for very high deals. But at the base of the pyramid, the foundation of this is where startups get created, small businesses get created, and it's 600,000 plus SEC accredited high net worth people who can support these small businesses moving forward so they can grow into the ecosystem. Honestly, I don't think there's a rivalry between East Coast and West Coast. I think we just need to work better together. I would rather be on your cap table, Rich, from the very beginning than to show up on the subsequent round when it's worth $20 million.
We have some opportunities for you for that, boss.
Okay,
many cap tables.
That's always, get what I'm saying?
I know,
when
sure.
all my friends end up on the cap table and they're on the East Coast and all of a sudden you bring me a deal and now it's $50 million pre-money valuation, I'm going, wait a minute, I'm not a private equity guy. I want to be on that same.
I'd like to be,
I want to be down over there.
Gotcha. So how many deals do you have in your portfolio now, if it's public?
Yeah.
And what's the average size investment you would make?
So the average will vary. I have deals deals where I'm in for 6 figures or more. And then there are deals where I'm in for 25,000 or so. So I have about an active 23 died. 3 got nice exit. I got an exit last year, $275 million exit, but I didn't do it. The entrepreneur did it, but we invested. And by the way, 5 years.
You got a piece of that.
I got a piece of that. 5-year QSBS, and I'm very happy about that. So are all the other investors.
Right.
And I have the rest that are really doing very well and very active. And obviously, it's a portfolio effect. Sure. So I can't count on just one thing, just kind of.
How many boards of the 23 did you serve on?
So I decided intentionally, Rich, I had opportunities to be on it. I decided that the most qualified person in my group should be the one that takes the board, not just because I wanted it. Sure. They offered it to me, but it's only most recently that I took one board seat. But I'm an advisor. Yeah, I'm an advisor to several, but I'm official board member of one, because I knew I had to kind of earn my stripes.
Right. So what do you see in the next 5 years in your future?
More early stage investment. More. Yeah. And I teach, by the way. So I am.
Oh, where do you teach?
I teach at VentureWell. I teach at Venture Capital Institute. I travel the world with my friends to promote capitalism and entrepreneurship. So I love teaching. I get a big kick out of seeing people's eyes kind of open about the possibilities. I think we have a cure to almost anything that we want, sitting somewhere in some technology transfer office as a patent, but no one has executed on it. So I love helping entrepreneurs kind of execute on their opportunities. And I like making a return on my investments. So I see more of that happening. And hopefully it comes out in either funds or it comes out in partnerships or one-on-one investing. It's
got an idea. Let's co-host a nice raucous dinner.
Okay.
Of, SEC accredited people who would like to invest in biohealth companies. Awesome. Do it sometime. Back here.
Sounds good. I'll be here.
Okay. But you can do some of your education.
I would love it.
Talk about what works, what doesn't work.
Sure.
And maybe reinvigorate the angel climate back in this region.
With your help and your network, Rich, I'm more than happy to be one voice.
Yeah. But it would be an important voice, though.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Great.
Yeah.
So general observations as you fly back to Sunnyvale after spending a couple days here.
Yeah, I had a wonderful time with the entrepreneurs. I really did.
How about the quality of the deals versus what you see out in California?
Fantastic. And again, comparable, more than comparable. My only regret is these are startups that I didn't get a chance to invest in earlier, right? So they're coming a little bit more mature, having achieved milestones, and that's fantastic. Okay. I appreciate that. Some of them still need coaching. Some of them are still a little bit too focused on their dream stage. Right. And so even with the feedback, it's hard to coach them. But again, there's a breadth everywhere that you go. Right. But I thought the quality of the companies and the entrepreneurs was fantastic. And by the way, many of them not only were generous with their time to tell me about their story, it's their story, right, but they were also connecting me with other entrepreneurs. That was very generous. It's really wonderful.
So out of all of the ones you talked to, is there anybody you think will make it to a check?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to get you connected over here.
No, I love this region.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
We're all one United States.
I understand. we are
one United States.
Some days.
True.
So I'm speaking with Faz Bashi, who's a great angel and, as you can tell, a great communicator from Sunnyvale, who has been attending the second annual BioHealth Capital Region Investment Conference. And we're going to welcome him back many times. I think there's many things we can do together. Any closing thoughts you have for me?
I'm just grateful for being here, honestly. Yeah. The friendship and the camaraderie is just wonderful, and I will be back.
Thank you very much, and I thank Andrea for introducing us, and hopefully we'll have a work together with all three of us.
I look forward to it.
Thank you, Faz.
All right, Rich.
Thanks for listening to BioTalk with Rich Bendis.